Do you think that the decision that you and the band have made to stay in Louisville is partly, we want to control our environment, we don't want to get sucked into this machinery? Or is it just that rents are low?
The rent is definitely good. I mean, we're already part of the machinery, kind of, because we tour and we come to South by Southwest, and I mean, part of me likes the machinery because I love the world of music, and I feel honored to be a part of it in whatever way I'm a part of it. But at Louisville, for me, is more about friends and family and lifetime birth connections that I feel like the hand of fate makes you pop out in a certain zone. Mm-hmm. And if that feels good to you, which it feels good to me. But I'm also fortunate enough to travel. And before I traveled so much, I definitely dreamed of getting out of Louisville. But then once I traveled, I was content to be home with my family.
Same thing happened to Dorothy in Oz, So there is a theme running through an awful lot of your work of wanting to get out, wanting to escape something, and also of really, really being connected to who you were as a child and wanting not to lose that. Is there some like rosebud, traumatic early moment that formed Jim James the artist?
When I look back on most of the things I've written, it's like me going, why am I so fucking confused? Or why am I hurting? Because I don't want to hurt. I want to be peaceful. Because we get these moments of peace, we get these beautiful moments in life, and life can be so beautiful, and then we get these hard moments, and we have these questions that we can't figure out. And I always remember the good moments and want to preserve them, or I just want to reach a state of sustained peace. I know that life's going to go up and down, and one day you're going to break your leg, and one day you might get a promotion, or you're going to have these small ups and downs, but I just want to I'm tired of having massive ups and downs. I just want to be on a plane of sustained peace.
But is it possible that if you found that plane of sustained peace, the music wouldn't come anymore?
No, because I feel like that's a big myth that a lot of people buy into too, because growing up in the grunge revolution, when I came of age, our heroes were people like Kurt Cobain, who God bless his soul, it was really sad, and I feel for him, and I wish his life wouldn't have been so sad. But we kind of brought up buying into this myth that, our heroes were the tortured geniuses like Kurt Cobain and Brian Wilson. So it's almost like this myth that you've got to start shooting heroin, or you've got to do something crazy, or be laying in a pool of sand or something, tripping acid all day long just to have any art of any value, But then I realized once I started getting into Stevie Wonder and Curtis Mayfield and people who preach about the joy of life, and you can see somebody have a successful life and have children and do all this beautiful stuff and make this art that still resonates more powerfully with me than the painful stuff. That kind of opened up my mind to saying, I've seen some of the greatest art that's ever touched me come from people like George Harrison or Stevie Wonder, or people who are searching for something higher and sometimes finding it, and they're humans, so they're fucking up too. And but it's like you get this thing where it doesn't have to be misery.
Right. You mentioned Stevie Wonder and Curtis Mayfield, and there is certainly a substantial strain of funk running through all your work. On the one hand, you've got the kind of band Neil Young type influence, but on the other hand, you can bust into Lionel Richie on a moment's notice. And we've talked about our mutual love for Gil Scott-Heron and stuff. Was that music you always heard? I mean, did your parents play P-Funk records when you were in the cradle? Or is it something you discovered along the process?
Well, my parents always listened, they were more just radio listeners, but it was kind of all radio, whether it was Motown or the Eagles, or it's kind of like popular 70s radio, which was a lot of great music. So I wasn't like a foreigner to, no pun intended, to Stevie Wonder or whatever, but I think like growing up and coming of age in the grunge era, it's like I was introduced to really like kind of beautiful organic bands like REM, and because I didn't have a big brother or like an older cousin to tell me about music or go, this band's really cool. So I kind of learned through the grunge era, which was a a pro and a con, because those guys introduced people to lots of great people, you know, like Neil Young, and kind of introduced us to the past. And I grew up in that, but then, you know, started hearing people like Stevie Wonder or Gil Scott-Heron or Curtis Mayfield, and there's just a certain sense of movement, of empowerment and propulsion that's a lot of the music I grew up on is like kind of stagnates, you know, and some of, I'm not trying to pigeonhole anybody, because of course Neil Young has a lot of great music that moves you, yeah. But he also has a lot of music that's very sad, and I was rooted in being very sad. And I was listening to records the other night with some friends, and somebody put on Nick Cave, and Nick Cave is similar. Like, Nick Cave has some things that are super sad and super like a piano and his vocal or whatever, and you're kind of there with him and you're not moving. You know, and other times he'll have a song like Deanna or something that's pushing you forward. But I felt like when I really started to understand Stevie Wonder or Curtis Mayfield or Marvin Gaye, or hearing the sound of somebody that's confused about the world, but they know there's hope, and the beat is giving you this forward progress. There's this forward, and we were all listening to records the other night, and somebody had put on Nick Cave, and we were all listening to it, and it was a great song and a great performance, but it was very sad, and everybody's kind of sitting around the living room going. And then we put on Curtis Mayfield, and you're just like moving. You know, it's like I felt like we were all moving forward again.
Yeah. There's also, all through your work, these songs that just seem like they came from Mars. You know, holding on to black metal. I mean, you know, there's at least one on every album where you go like, well, that's another side of Jim James. Is it hard to sequence those? Do you ever say, like, where the hell do we put this on the record?
Yeah.
Are there any that just can't get on a record because they just mess it up?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's others that we put on the record that still mess it up.
Highly Suspicious is one of the weirdest records you ever made. Did that just come out of the box that way? Or did you get tired of doing it with, you know, mandolins and banjo and just decided to blow it up?
I just thought it was really funny and really stupid, and we just thought it was fun to play. You know, it's a fun song to play, and it's kind of ridiculous. And it was just like I don't know, it was a character thing to me. I mean, people say it sounds like Prince a lot, which I can see the comparison, but I think it's a lot stupider than that.
It's like Prince, but stupider.
Right.
There's a sticker to put on the record.
Yeah, that's a big selling point. But people don't like that. Like, we always get made fun of for that kind of stuff, and you know, bloggers and stuff are like, everything's got to be so fucking serious, and everything's got to be Velvet Underground, brother, because I just don't have any room for this bullshit. It's Highly Suspicious. There's no time for this. This is ridiculous.
So there must be a part of you, somewhere in there, there's a 15-year-old Jim who just wanted to listen to Velvet Underground and be cool. I mean, clearly this is something you transcended.
I'm trying.